Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are so glad that you could join us today for our future Wildcat Families Coffee Chat. To introduce myself, my name is Renee Marquez. I serve as the Assistant Director for Student Transitions and Customer Service, really overseeing our future Wildcat Families Department here at the University of Arizona. So this just a little bit about the department. This is a new department within our division, really to serve as a central hub for information, communication, and support for our families of our new incoming students. Really just to help support you as parents and supporters to navigate that admissions process, to help understand a lot of the support that we offer for your students as incoming through graduation, and just helping you to feel confident as partners in your students' Wildcat journey. So here at the University of Arizona, we realize that that process for coming to college can be a lot of information. So we're just here to help navigate that transition. So, whether you are joining us tonight from Arizona or across the country, we are thrilled to have you with us tonight to talk about one of our favorite topics, why Arizona. So, today's session is all about helping you learn what makes the University of Arizona such a special place to learn and grow. We know that choosing a college can be stressful, it's a big decision for your students. And a lot of times it's a big decision that impacts the entire family. So, our hope that this coffee chat conversation really gives you a little more insight as to how Arizona could be a right fit for your student. We'll also go over the application process if you have any questions about that, or if your student has not yet applied. But before we jump in, I just want to cover some logistics. So you are currently logged into a Zoom webinar, which means your chat audio and video functionality are disabled. We do want to encourage you to grab your mouse and hover over the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. That is where you can drop any questions that you have for us. So we have several colleagues on as panelists and behind the scenes to help answer your questions. A huge gratitude and shout out thank you to you all for being here. And just want to encourage you to ask your questions there in the Q&A. This coffee chat is being recorded and will be available on our website for reference at any time after today's session. So I am joined today by several of our wonderful admissions staff, two of them who work directly with new incoming students and their families across the country, and then one of our board members, Leanne. I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself, starting with you, Joe.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Elliott. I serve as our Director of National Recruitment. So I am one of our many regionally based employees. So I live out in New Jersey, where it's just after 8 o'clock. So thank you for the East Coasters for sticking around. But just very glad and very excited to have this opportunity to chat with you a little bit more about why Arizona.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Wagner. I am a regional manager for Pacific Northwest admission. So I am also regionally based on the opposite end of the country. I'm up in Seattle, Washington. Thanks for everyone for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
And I am Leanne McNamee. As Renee said, I am on the Parent and Family Advisory. Been proud to be a board member on that since my son William, who's a senior at the University of Arizona. So we're a proud Wildcat family, but I do have 3 kids in college and did a lot with applications. So, and we've been very happy with Arizona.
Wonderful.
Oh, and I'm in Maryland. Forgot to say that.
Yep, you're joining us from Maryland tonight. Thank you, Leanne. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. To kick things off, I would love to start with one of our biggest questions, and really the reason that brings us all here today. What makes the University of Arizona stand out, and why do so many students choose to become Wildcats? Joe, can you help us with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what really stands us out are opportunities. So we are a large tier 1 research institution in the city of Tucson. which is a beautiful, diverse city. If you're from the Northeast or Pacific Northwest, you'll probably really enjoy the weather. If you're from the Midwest, you'll also really enjoy the weather. But what I always say is that Tucson and the University of Arizona really are so well intertwined with each other. My best regional reference is going to be if you imagine holding a bagel in your hand, that inside of that bagel is going to be the University of Arizona. And everything really revolves around the university, whether it's cultural events, employment opportunities, sports, um, an amazing campus that you can just kind of walk around and wonder, kind of take in all the sights and sounds. And I think what really makes us stand out within the state of Arizona is just our campus. That really is such an amazing selling point for so many students that come out. Being one singular campus, you really get to take everything in and have it under one roof or under one property. And that's one of the biggest defining things for us, I think, sometimes is a lot of schools are multiple campuses, and having that one place where everything, it's almost like one-stop shop, really makes the students feel like they're part of a larger community. And then I think in terms of academics, we could tell you about some of our rankings nationally, but I often don't put a lot of stock in some of the rankings. I just talk about opportunities. When you think about Eller College of Management, there are just such a broad range of academic opportunities within Eller, which really translate to a lot of opportunities for students. So you think of a bigger school with Eller being one of our largest academic colleges on our campus, it kind of gives students more opportunities for courses. And then it just talks about the breadth of the alumni that are available, whether it's in Arizona or California, if it's in Seattle, if it's in New Jersey, if it's in Miami. I think these are a lot of this many reasons why students kind of gravitate towards U of A as not only a great place to learn, but also a great city to live in.
Joe, thank you for bringing up, especially academics. All of that is true and through. But Natalie, I wonder, can you help us kind of tell us a little bit more about some of the most popular, unique academic programs that really attract students to Arizona?
Yeah, definitely. So similar to what Joe mentioned, we are a large public university with a lot of different academic areas that students can study. So while we have some more popular programs or bigger colleges on campus, we really offer majors in all areas of study. So I would say some of our more popular programs or larger on campus would be business for sure. We have 17 engineering majors, so that's a big one also. Medicine, any of the health sciences, computer science. We're also known for being strong with environmental science and agriculture. And some of our smaller programs that are, again, ranked and popular and more competitive, but really maybe lesser known, but are definitely programs that we stand out in are dance. We have a really competitive dance program in the nation. And then also astronomy and physics. Sometimes students and families don't realize that Tucson is actually an astronomy capital of the world. We are a designated low light city because we have multiple observatories in the area. So students who are interested in astrophysics, space sciences, Tucson and the University of Arizona is actually a really great fit for that.
Thank you, Natalie. And, students can also, they don't always have to know exactly what they want to study. We do have support here on campus too that can help advise them, kind of help them with their interest. So we do have that type of support too if your students are not quite sure what they want to study. Um, Leanne, I am looking at you and I am really excited to hear a little bit more about your current student. Can you tell us, Leanne, thinking back to when your student applied to the University of Arizona, can you tell us a few things that maybe made him most excited about coming,
I,
especially like from Maryland all the way to Arizona?
Yeah, I'm delighted to actually be able to share because I'm looking at the questions. I think I can answer some things. So we had zero connection to Arizona. We knew nobody out there, and all the things that Joe and Natalie are saying are true. So our son applied early. It was the first college he applied to. We thought it was his practice application, and he got in, and then he got accepted to the honor school. And so we we flew out there really thinking we were just going to cross it off the list. And then we stepped onto that campus, and it is just as beautiful. Even the pictures are absolutely true that you see. It was a beautiful campus. I don't know what I was expecting. And as my son said, he called it the vibe check. He said, I can see myself here. There's no agenda. It's just great academics. He loves sports. He loved the feel of the school. And so before we left there, he's like, I think we can all agree where I want to go. And we have not regretted it at all. But it is, I mean, we had no intention of him flying out from Maryland to Arizona.
Leanne, I love that story. That leads us right into if we can maybe start talking a little bit more about the new admissions process. And maybe, Joe, you can help us with this. So, the University of Arizona has a new admissions process, and Tiffany on the Q&A brings up a good question. Joe, are you able to help explain what is early action? Maybe kind of help us see our admissions process for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have really changed just the way we are looking at students, and a lot of folks have been questioning like why all of a sudden moving to early action. I think this is a betterment for every single 17 and 18-year-old that are looking to apply to any college or any institution in the country. So at the University of Arizona, for fall 2026, we are strongly recommending that high school seniors get their completed application submitted before November 1st. Now, while November 1st might be our deadline, I always say get it in before then. By doing so, each student is going to get a priority admission review, consideration for either an in-state or out-of-state merit scholarship. If they're interested in WA Frankie honors, they can also submit their application. And as in terms of applications, it's available via the Common App or the application within our website. So they can apply to APME honors. What we're requiring is really all still the same, but getting the application in before November 1st does give a lot more priority. Once that application is submitted, admission will do a full comprehensive review, and I'll kind of explain what we're looking at overall. But we'll read, and then decisions will be posted on January 15th. So last year, I know plenty of folks here, my son, my daughters at Arizona, they didn't have to do all this. So we've kind of changed this very intentionally because we want to make sure that we're getting to know the student the best that we possibly can. So in terms of your academics, we are looking at the entirety of a student's academic history and their senior year courses in progress. We're looking at activities, so extracurriculars, whether that's in the community, part-time job, babysitting, working at a local YMCA or a summer camp, anything at their school, clubs, sports, athletics. We really want to get to know, see like how involved has a student been. Then there's kind of the optional things that if your child or if you all have spoken to anybody from our admissions office, we would say, while the essay is recommended, we would really strongly encourage that it is submitted. And it's a great question. I've shared this with a lot of other institutions, and it's why are you interested in the University of Arizona, and why is your major that you're choosing? Why are you choosing this? So it's really a two-part question. But we really think that this is allowing us as an institution the opportunity to really get to know the student so we can fully evaluate the student, especially as they're looking to apply into WA Frankie honors, the APME program, engineering, architecture, nursing, just to kind of help us. But ultimately, what I think one of the best benefits of this is that there are some very, very clear deadlines. And that's always been something that's been hard at Arizona. We didn't have the best deadlines, but I feel like this year we truly do. So that November 1st is really that early action. If you get your completed application and by November 1st, your children are going to get that decision by January 15th. If they submit after, that's called regular decision. And we then will release based off of availability, end of February, end of March. But ultimately, like the goal for students from January 15th to May 1st, that's kind of the two big things. Like May 1st is our official deadline to pay your enrollment fee. So you kind of have like some good benchmarks that you have to kind of flow along to kind of help ensure that if Arizona is the right choice for your family, because we know this is definitely a family decision, that January 15th is that first start. That's when the clock starts, and it's going to wind down on May 1st.
Joey, you mentioned that priority deadline, getting your application in by November 1st. Can students apply, say, November 2nd or after November 1st?
Yes, you can still apply after November 1st. You can apply in December, you can apply in January. The big difference is, early action allows you to have that priority review. And the biggest thing that I really stress is priority review for honors and for an in-state or out-of-state merit scholarship. Those are parents, I'm sure you're circling that date, because whenever I'm standing at a college fair and I mention, like, if you apply on November 2nd, we might not be able to review you for a merit scholarship. And the parents like, you're going to get that in by November 1st. You're going to get it in tomorrow. So that's really where we do stress it, because we might not have any availability of funds post January 15th. And also, the decisions could come at the end of February. They could come at the end of March. We're really looking to see, our goal is to do that first review for early action. And then whoever's in that regular decision will get those decisions end of February, end of March, based off of availability.
Okay. Thinking about this holistic review, and you mentioned an essay, and there's also room for a personal statement on here. Can you kind of tell us the difference between the two?
Yeah, so the actual words for our essay is, why is the University of Arizona the right fit for you? And how will your chosen academic area of study align with your interest, goals, and values? So again, it is kind of a two-part question. The second one, which we call a personal statement, that has always been an option at the University of Arizona. That is the opportunity for a student to share anything else that they have not included. My my go-to answer on what should I write has always been, I played sports in high school. I got a concussion my second year. My grades struggled because of that, but I got some extra tutoring. I was able to rebound, finish out my high school career playing soccer again. But those are things that we can't really pick up on when we're looking at a transcript. We don't know, why did you get an A in Algebra 1? You got a D in Algebra 2, and then you got a B in geometry. We just assume, like, wow, they just didn't do well in that class. But if we see all those classes around the same time had a same dip, and there's an explanation, that gives us a lot of extra context. And comprehensive review is really about context. Like, we are trying to get as much context about the student and their academics so that we can then make the best decision.
And you didn't mention, there's a question in the chat, SATs and ACTs, just to remind all of our families on tonight, would you recommend that they be submitted? Are they required?
They are not. So we are still a test optional school. And when I say test optional, I mean, please don't submit them. If Natalie calls, or somebody from Arizona, or if I call and say, like, we need your test scores, then yes, you would officially submit them. But we do not use SAT or ACT scores for admissions review. WA Frankie does not use them. APME does not use them. Engineering does not use them. Nursing does not use them. The only time a student would want to send test scores is if they are going to enroll at the University of Arizona, because that can assist with placements in your first semester at the University of Arizona.
Natalie, I want to ask you, I'm sorry, our questions in the chat, I just want to make sure that we're covering these. Do you know about our WUI programs and which ones we offer here on campus?
Yeah, I actually get this question a lot working with students up in Washington. We are a WUI school, and for those of you wondering what WUI is, that's the Western Undergraduate Exchange, WUE. We are, but only 3 of our majors are eligible for the WUI tuition discount. So that's natural resources, mining and geological engineering, and hydrology and atmospheric sciences. All other majors are just in-state or out-of-state tuition, depending on where your student is living. But those other majors, that are not WUI eligible are eligible for those merit tuition awards that we've been talking about. So if a student enrolls in a WUI major, then yes, they're eligible for the WUI tuition discount, but they're not eligible for a merit award. So the merit awards can theoretically offset the lack of WUI majors, but it depends on the value of that merit award, but at least there's something else that they can be earning, even if it's not the WUI tuition discount.
Thank you for explaining that, Natalie. So we have gone through, the application process, what's expected on that application. Joe really gave us a good idea of what to expect, especially the topics for the essay, which is great. So kind of thinking past this application process, just kind of wanted to think about some of the ways that Arizona supports students in finding their purpose, and really their success academically, and if there's, personal growth here. Uh, Joe, Natalie, either one of you.
I can
I was frantically typing. I'm sorry. I was trying to
No,
about
no
the
worries. I can lead off with that one. Yeah, and something I failed to mention in my introduction is I am also a University of Arizona alum. So I can speak both personally and from the admissions and staff perspective of this as well. Um, one of there's a lot of ways that the university supports students both academically, with thinking ahead to internships or career opportunities beyond graduation, or even just personal wellness as well. In terms of academics, I think of our Think Tank Tutoring Center. They offer free and fee-based tutoring for students. Professors have office hours, which is also another free opportunity for students to get academic support. In terms of career and kind of professional experience, we have our Student Engagement and Career Development Center on campus, and they provide supports with students by hosting like career fairs or working on resume workshops or doing mock interviews, things like that that are just skill developments to help students prepare for whether it's summer employment, internships, getting a job beyond graduation, all of that. And just for personal wellness, I think of our CAP Center. That's our Counseling and Psychological Services program or a resource on campus within our campus health department. We also have lots of clubs and organizations for students to have that social wellness and get to know other students. So I feel like I could talk on and on about those things that I personally partook in or was involved in, or that I see students who are new students getting involved in that can really support their success, both academically, professionally, and personally. Joe, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I this is a horrible analogy, but Natalie knows me, Renee knows me. One of the biggest things that came out of COVID was the opportunity for the institution to create the Student Success District. So it was really built in record time when you think about it, because campus was empty. So this is a 12, 14 acre complex that kind of encapsulates our library, our bear down gym, and has really been like the center for all students to go for academic support, for library usage. The idea of if somebody says, I don't know where to go get tutoring, it's like it's that giant facility in the middle of campus. Like you see it every time you walk down the mall. Like it's right there. Even more so, like there's something called the SOS, it's support, outreach, and success. So a student can text a number, they can chat with somebody anytime during the day. They can make a phone call and say like, "Hey, I'm in this, calculus in on my engineering program, and I need tutoring. Like, where do I go?" And somebody's going to respond back and be like, "There's a calculus tutor right now in this building. You should go there and get help." The big thing I really think is like we truly do. I did not go to the University of Arizona. Natalie did, and I never shy away from that. I went to a much smaller, tiny little liberal arts school that was smaller than probably our Eller College of Management in total students. Um, but what I think is really most impressive is the way Arizona has really evolved over the last 9 years that I've been working in this position. Um, and it really starts with like that student experience. When you think of May 1st, student pays their enrollment fee. Hopefully before that, they're officially coming. their next big step is going to be the virtual orientation. That's where they're going to meet with an academic advisor from their academic college. They're going to get to see their first glimpse of what their fall semester is going to look like. That's usually about 2 to 3 hours. So it's a kind of a short virtual window. We do a lot of pre and post webinars on demand that students, families can kind of watch along. And then the next thing is they move to campus, and that's when they get to meet their roommate, probably for the first time. They get to really take in campus. Their parents are going to take them out for nice meals and everything like that. But the first weekend between when you move in to when school starts is called Destination Arizona. And this is kind of like the second half of your orientation. And it is literally a red carpet is rolled throughout our campus for families to kind of take in what the University of Arizona is all about. We really do have a ton of opportunities for families, for students to meet with other students. Natalie she flew down this year to lead a really exciting program for all of our out-of-state students. It's called an out-of-state mixer, where we're like basically having them put pins on a map so they can see like, oh, there are kids from this little town, Yarmouth, Maine. This is exciting. Like there's people that I know like from these areas. So all of this stuff that we do really kind of helps a student feel like they're not just a number. I mean, 45,000 undergraduates, but most of our students say like, yes, we are big, but big in spirit and opportunity, but it feels much smaller. I mean, our faculty to student ratio is only 19 to 1. 70% of our academic classes have less than 30 kids. There are some caps in first year classes that are, English 1, English 2 are capped at 25 students, which really, if you ask your kids like, how big is your English class at your high school? They're like, oh, it's like 30 kids. Like some of our classes are smaller than high school classes. So there's just so much that we really do that really fosters this level of success where students feel like emboldened, they feel like they know where they need to go to get help, where it really sets them up to be successful over the course of 4 years.
Thank you, Joe. And really, that's what sets us apart, describing how we feel like it's such a tight-knit community sometimes. Leanne, I would really like to ask you about your students' experience here on campus. So William is a senior now. Um,
Yes.
he's been here for the 4 years. Did he participate in any research? Can you kind of explain like how he found his purpose or maybe some of his highlights?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to back up Joe and Natalie by just, giving the personal experience of how much my son has grown in both maturity and purpose. So he is in economics at the Eller School of Management. And like they said, it's a ginormous school, but it is so personal. They're about the Wildcat community, but what a Wildcat is many things. It's an engineer, it's a football player, it's, all these things, and they all get encouragement and support. And so as a parent out in Maryland, although we've traveled there once or twice a year, I know he's taken care of through all those programs. But just to give the parents an example, since he's been there, he became a counselor at the think tank, which was wonderful because then he started thinking about law school and was able to take the law school prep class for like a quarter of the price because he was a tutor there. He became head of the sports management group and went out to LA to meet with I couldn't believe it, all these amazing heads of stadiums and sports teams. And now he's got a lifelong dream of getting to film the football team and travel with them. And these were nothing that we planned on. Like this was us dropping him off at Arizona, and just through counselors, caring teachers, like Joe said, that it's a small school. When you want to get access to something, he can get access and someone calls. And just to give kind of a really good example, we were terrified about the housing, right? Where's he going to live? Is he going to meet the deadline? Blah, blah, blah. And we thought we messed up. And he was at this one, he's like, I guess we're going to have to live here. At 8 a.m. the next morning, someone from the University of Arizona was calling him personally, said, oh, we had a reset on the computer. We believe you need to be here and you were trying. Let us help you get into the place. I could not believe that. So again, they were watching the application. They were making sure he to go. And then he's just grown to a guy that thinks he wants to go to law school now. So I hope I'm not all over the place on that, but we're so grateful for what it's done.
Thank you, Leanne. I really love hearing about his experience. He did some amazing things here on campus, and he's now here in his last year. And
Went
it,
so fast. And I've enjoyed the other students. I mean, equally impressive, when we come to visit and we're meeting the other students, we don't worry about him while he's out there. Well, at least not too much. I am a
uh,
parent.
Leanne, I feel like I've asked you this question previously, but maybe you can help share with our new families. During William's first year, was there anything that surprised you with maybe his experience, maybe how he's changed or grown? Is there anything that you were surprised by?
Well, yeah, because you kind of hold your breath, right? You're waiting for that phone call. Are they crying? Are they laughing? Or, what's going on? And he said his advice is always join more than you think you want to do because you meet people. He said nobody knows each other, right? Like I think Joe mentioned at the mixer, they're surprised that there are people from other places, but it's not like everybody knows each other and you're the only one. And so he joined lots of crazy clubs. I don't know. He had something with rugby. I don't know. It was something, but things he let go of and things he kept. But he met a really good core group of people by the end of that year that they gave each other support. So that was his advice is like Joe and Natalie said, there are so many opportunities there. So seize as many of them as you want to, get to know people, and then keep what you want.
Leanne, thank you for that. That leads me into a question that I believe some of our families may have. What opportunities do students have to get involved on campus? Natalie, can you help us with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of opportunities. You've heard us mention a few different things, but again, being having a lot of students in a larger school, but even having that smaller campus feel, we have a lot of student organizations and clubs. We're Division 1 for athletics, so a lot of students are wear the colors and get excited about different sports teams. We have student government, we have Greek life, we have clubs based on all kinds of hobbies and interests. We have research opportunities. Students can have jobs on campus. The list goes on and on. For me personally, kind of echoing what Leanne said, during my first year or two, I joined a lot of different student organizations and academic clubs just to meet people and see what I liked. And there were definitely things I stayed involved in all 4 years. And there were things that I said, well, that was nice. Went to a couple club meetings and that's not for me. I'm not going to, I don't want to spend time on that one because I want to instead put my time and effort and energy into this organization. So I was involved in a club with my major. I was an education major. I was also a campus tour guide. I was involved in a couple student groups called honoraries. Some of them were athletics related, some were philanthropy and social based. So I really did a lot, and there were still things that I wish I could have added to my plate, but there's only so many hours in the day. But that, echoing the piece of advice of, get engaged on campus, plug yourself in. Not everything's going to stick, and that's okay. But finding your community, that's how you do it. You find your niche and your people, and maybe it's something you stick with all 4 years, maybe not, but that's how you get to know others. And it's at the very end of the day, it's something you can put on your resume and say that you were a part of. And hopefully it's something that can unlock a new passion or an interest.
Thank you, Natalie. Claire in the chat brings up a good question. And Joe, maybe you can help us with this. Is there opportunities for students, especially even in the first year, like for research opportunities or lab, working in a lab? I think you're on mute, Joe.
I was on mute. I didn't say anything important just yet, but I saw the question come in and I instantly went to our degree search, which is a truly great tool. if you're interested in learning more about the 150 plus majors at Arizona. So we always hear you offer pre-med. When we hear that at a college fair, we often we have a much better answer, but yes, we offer pre-med. The A Center has tons of opportunities if you're interested in pre-med, pre-law, ophthalmology, any of those related fields. But what we're really fortunate about is we do have a trauma hospital on our campus. And that trauma hospital is adjacent to our College of Nursing, Pharmacy, Public Health, and Medicine. The University of Arizona was the first institution in the country to offer a bachelor's of science in medicine. And what this really affords students is the opportunity to be in a cohort of similar students looking to go into the health field, most likely going into a graduate school of medicine, whether at Arizona or anywhere else. But it's really anchored by the hospital. And a lot of the curriculum is much more focused on like emergency medical sciences, surgery, radiology. So there's a lot more opportunities. Now, any student can get involved in shadowing at our hospital. They're going to just kind of apply. It's called the Handshake. It's for our admitted students. It's a website, has all of our research opportunities, internship opportunities, shadowing opportunities throughout the campus community and in the surrounding community. But I always say, like, if your goal in life is to become a doctor, don't go into biology, go into medical sciences. And part of the reason why is because, and we don't have enough time for me to go into the full explanation, but I can all feel that you want to hear this answer, so I'll do it as quickly as possible. You have to hit a certain level of prerequisites if you're looking to go into an advanced standing, so in a junior year or a third year at any institution. For us, those prerequisites are all similar between pharmacy, public health, medicine, and nursing. So a student needs to satisfy those courses. And if you are in medical science, if you are in nursing, if you are in public health, if you are in pharmacy, like those courses are there for you. But if you're a biology student looking to go into the medical field after 4 years, you have to try and get on a wait list basically to get some of those classes. Now, first dibs are going to go to the students within the major because that's your requirement to graduate from that major. So we always say, like, look at medical science, our fastest growing major at the University of Arizona over the last 4 years. The biggest benefit is by the time a student is really hitting into their fourth year at Arizona, some of your professors are going to be graduate level professors. Now, if there's anybody here that went to a medical school or applied to a medical school, you need a letter of recommendation, preferably from somebody in the field. You can now ask your professor that's teaching you that fourth year class and say, like, hey, I've been coming to your office meetings, I've been engaging, could you write me a letter of recommendation? So it really is like, when you look at the 3 public institutions in the state of Arizona, biasly, I will say, like, we are most well known for our health sciences, and that's really anchored by Banner and just the amount of resources that are available for those students.
Thank you, Joe. We have went over so many parts of this institution from, as a pathway coming in for our new students. We went over the application, research, how to get involved, the support services that we offer. We are coming down to the last few minutes of our coffee chat. Joe, Natalie, Leanne, I want to give you just this opportunity. If you have any last minute things for our new families looking to Arizona as a possible place for their student. Do you have any last minute ideas, words for them?
Me, but to go first, or well,
Sure.
I mean, just going to say, like I'm looking at the questions and I can feel, the parents are like, oh, and should it be this and do this? It's going to be okay. And when they get in there, and I say yes to University of Arizona. If your student wants a big school, but with a small town feel, it's there, and they are going to figure it out. Like the jobs they have, I don't even know what some of the jobs they're going for now are, because things get created and changed. The job market changes, and so Arizona gets them into the experience, real world skills, tools they need to succeed. And so they will be prepared as they move along. They will meet with people, they will have advice, and they will learn how to succeed by the time they get to like William in his senior year. And so, yes, things are going to change and they're going to be okay, is my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Liam.
I would chime in with just some practical advice. I have two things I would say. First, if you can, visit our campus. And I also speak broadly, visit any college campus that your student's looking at if it's feasible. Pictures and videos can say a lot and show a lot, but when you actually walk onto a campus, again, echoing that vibe check mindset, you really get a feel for a place and the community and the weather, things that are just not inherently obvious from just looking online. So if you have the opportunity to visit campus, or even better, take a campus tour, that's always my recommendation. And then also connect with us. Myself and Joe and the rest of our national recruitment team, we are your regional liaisons to help answer any questions that your student might have or you might have. We might not be in your city or in your neighborhood, but we all work with students across the whole nation. We have different states that we work with. So your student has an assigned regional manager of recruitment. And so please reach out to us, ask us your questions. We can also connect you with specific departments on campus. So if you have questions about business or about the fashion program or anything like that, let us know and we can be that liaison and connect you. So you're not in a bubble. Please use us as a resource as your student is exploring and considering applying.
And then I will kind of quickly round us home. Yes, everything that everybody said, I totally agree. Visiting campus, whether you live 20 minutes away in the Catalina foothills and, haven't been there for a year or so, like it's important to kind of come out to some of our programs and events. Our academic colleges offer info sessions. We offer ambassador tours. We have open houses, Arizona experiences coming up. There's always great opportunities to really kind of embrace it. Now's the time to come and see campus because there are students there and you kind of get to feel the vibe and see what's going on. But I would say like my biggest advice for any parent is if you're tuning in from the East Coast or the Pacific Northwest or a non-direct flight to Tucson, like it's always good to explore the options. We have teams around the country. There are 14 regional representatives that work at the University of Arizona. We have regional representatives in the Phoenix area and Northern Arizona. We have everybody in our admissions office on campus. Every single student has somebody that they can talk to one-on-one. And that's really the important thing. If there are questions, as now I said, we will copy an academic college. Most of our colleges have recruitment managers that can speak more in depth about like research that's available, internships that are available, the course structure. Academic advisors will talk to students even before they apply. So that, asking the questions is the most important thing, and we'll be sure to get those answers. Know right now that we are all super busy trying to get into as many high school visits and college fairs around the country right now. But the biggest thing, if we can really stress, before November 1st, that's really the goal, to make sure that those applications are submitted. Once your child submits their application, typically within a couple days, they'll get an email that says your application is complete or your application is incomplete. They'll have access to what we call a future Wildcat account, which they will get within 24 hours if they submit on the Common App. Log into the future Wildcat account. They can kind of see their checklist of what is required, what is processing. That processing typically takes a couple days and will kind of stretch out a little bit more as we get closer to November 1st. But if there are questions, just ask. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Joe. That was wonderful. That concludes our coffee chat on Why Arizona. I just want to extend my serious gratitude. Thank you all for joining us tonight and learning more about the University of Arizona. Thank you to our staff as our panelists and behind the scenes attending to our questions. We are going to stay on for just a little bit while we answer any final questions in the Q&A. If you would like to reach out after our coffee chat concludes, as Joe mentioned, we do have admissions recruiters and advisors, but you could always contact me as well in future Wildcat families. My information is here on the screen and I am happy to help with any questions that may come up. We are wishing you a wonderful evening. Leanne, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Maryland. We appreciate you all, and we wish you a great afternoon, a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.